Hi, welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Good morning to you. I'm Dub Craig. Steve is feeling a little under the weather, but luckily he was able to sit down with Fort St. John Fire Department Lieutenant Alyn Stobbe earlier on to talk a bit about Fire Prevention Week. So we'll have that conversation for you coming up in just a bit. But first, Fort St. John City Council approved this week to make some big changes to their snow and ice control policy. Starting this winter, there will be sweeping new parking bans coming into effect after certain snowfall amounts in order to more efficiently clean the roads. To talk a bit about those changes and what they mean for you, we're joined now by longtime Fort St. John City Councillor Trevor Bolin. Trevor, thank you for being here this morning.
Why'd you have to throw in the long time?
I thought about that 10 minutes ago. I was like, I'm going to throw that in here because, I mean, you've been on city council since you were in your 20s. And where are we at now?
It's
right?
been, we were counting that up because we just all got elected 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we were counting that up the other day, and I don't know what I'm at. I think I'm going into my 19th year.
There you go.
So we won't say where in my 20s I was, but yeah, it's been a bit, Dub.
There it is.
Been a minute.
So obviously in all that time you've been on city council, you know how controversial snow clearing could be in this town, as it kind of is in all winter cities, I think. And with that, I mean, big changes that council approved this week, which include, as I say, switching the schedule, I suppose, from a priority system to a category system. You'll have to explain what that means in a second, but also this parking ban that will now be in effect. Again, it requires a certain amount of snowfall and where you're parking and all that good stuff. Why don't you run through for us quickly the big changes that were made as part of this approval that the council did?
Absolutely. So I think first and foremost that, you know, people were to realize or do realize that these changes were made from what we have heard coming out of last winter.
Yeah.
So there was some issues last winter. I mean, that was kind of all over social media. Nobody's gonna joke around that. You know, some fixes were made, some temporary changes were made, and then staff really broke down as to, you know, what was causing a majority of these concerns or what were causing these issues. And you know, and it's not just complaints. People will always say on Facebook, they're like, you know, don't the councillors see this? Aren't they driving around? Don't staff see this? Aren't they? Absolutely we are. But it's a massive policy, the snow and ice policy. And this really gave staff a chance to take all of those comments, all of our concerns, all of our emails that we had gotten from residents, kind of put it together and see what that is. So I think the biggest thing was the expansion of times in the downtown. You know, we're you know, instead of doing the blading and then coming back the next day for the cleanup and the haul off and stuff like that, it was the ability to extend those hours and be able to do those at one swoop. Mm-hmm. It was ensuring that sidewalks in the downtown on those main corridors were done first into the street. The street then takes them. They then haul it off. So it makes it easy. Part of that, though, is ensuring that there's no vehicles that are blocking that, because there's nothing worse. You know, last year where you've seen a lot of the monstrosity build up along the curbside, that was part of that, right? Where vehicles are parked there, sidewalk machine comes down, you know, it kind of piles up between the curb and the tires on that car. And then that freezes and we've got an issue that can't be cleaned up. So I think that's going to really help with the downtown. I think we're going to see it cleaner, clearer. I think we're going to see it more efficient. Those extended hours are going to help. Let's see how this goes. Now, you know, should it have been a full 24-hour shift? Well, we'll see. Right now, you know, this is kind of what we've played around. And I think that too is people need to understand that anytime we change something, especially a policy like snow, there's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some learning. But this is how it looks right now, and let's go forward. So that is the parking removal in the downtown between the hours of, I believe it was 11 p.m. till 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. And then residential, we've gone from a priority route. So if people will remember, there was the priority routes. We've broken out the downtown. We've broken out the actual main corridors, the bus transit routes, the collectors. Those are now broken out of those priorities, and residential becomes a category. So, you know, if you live on, and this isn't the actual date, but if you live on 112th Ave and 103rd Street, you know, you're going to be Tuesdays. that is when your snow is going to be removed. So your vehicles, if you do park on the road, curbside, they need to be removed on Tuesdays, because again, the city needs to ensure, and the guys running the equipment and the gals running the equipment, they need to ensure that they have access to the entire street, because that's going to keep grates clean. That's going to keep the curbside clean. That's going to make it safer for kids. So we'll be able to do those, get the sidewalks done, put it onto the street, and then come out and do the street afterwards. So there was some concern online about towing and these different things. And listen, we discussed it at council, and I can't remember, I think it might have been Gord that even asked the question, and the deputy CEO said, listen, the last thing we want is to tow people, right? You have there's one day where you can't park on the road per snowfall event. If we don't have snow for a month, that's one day in a month to just ensure that we are all doing our part as residents, as neighbors, as family, to make this process as good as it can be.
Yeah, I think also as part of this, though, in this first year at least, my understanding is like pilot might be too simple of a word for this, but it's not like it's a full rollout where suddenly there's going to be people towing cars left and right. No. There's some room here for, we're trying this, we're going to see how it goes. Everyone's going to have a little bit of breathing room in terms of, if you do leave your car out by accident or whatever, it's not like there's going to be a fleet of tow trucks towing cars left and right.
Right? You're right. I mean, that's the last thing. That's the last thing we want. Ideally, what we want is we just like people to help in the process. Yeah. Right. It takes an entire community to make these things work. And we get it. It might be difficult, but you know what? If you're on a graveyard shift and you typically park on the street, your spouse goes to work that morning, move your truck into the spot where your spouse was, right? Like it's not difficult. It doesn't have to be difficult. Places that were maybe built with illegal basement suites or unregistered basement suites or basement suites that weren't done at the time of a permit, those are an issue because we see where there's, 2 vehicles in the driveway, maybe 2 on the street. You're going to have to deal with that because that's the sort of thing where if it's an ongoing occurrence, you're going to get towed. You'll probably get a note maybe the first couple times if I were to have my way, or I think if council were to be able to say what a process could be, you might get a note or a reminder, hey, you didn't move today, just a reminder, your day is Tuesday. But this is going to be on the city social media page. This is going to be on the community pages. Everybody's going to know their date. It's like garbage day. Yeah. If you don't put your garbage out and your garbage get missed, that's your fault. Well, if you don't put your car in your driveway and your street gets missed, that again is going to be your fault. Yeah. I don't think you want to be that neighbor. You imagine being that neighbor. It's like, oh no, right? Chris didn't move his car today, and now they had to swoop around and they missed this whole section. The quicker and more efficient that these guys and gals can clear the roads, the better for us all. So if we can do a tiny little part in the 10 minutes it takes to move a vehicle to ensure that they can get right down to the curb on that, let's do it together.
Yeah. Now, again, as I understand this is sort of staff kind of offered these ideas.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that you could speak for staff, but I mean, it's not like anyone reinvented the wheel here, right? If you're from Edmonton or Calgary, for example, something like this has been in place for several years where it's wintertime. You can't park on the street when it's snowed because the plows are going to come by and you're going to get towed.
In those larger cities, you can't park on the street at all. Yeah. You go to a lot of those residential areas and there's no parking on the streets. But literally staff, I mean, when staff put together reports like this, especially changes on policy, they are going out to 10 or 15 other communities who have similar issues to ours. How did they deal with it? What worked? What didn't work? Because from there, it's like, okay, stay away from that. This is not a let's just make this up and go with it. This is here's the concerns we heard from the residents. Here's what other communities are doing. Here's what it could look like for us. Let's roll it out. Yeah. Right? It was not a willy-nilly last minute thing at all.
Now, I will say, I think it'd be appropriate to say that one of the most unique things about Fort St. John is sort of how affordable it is to live here. And that means that when people have lots of disposable income, they can have the luxury of a summer drive or in a winter drive, and they have a work truck and stuff. So in that case, what do you say to the idea that that might be why you're seeing some of the controversy when people say, you know, in other communities, you might not face the same reality where people have many vehicles and some of them just have to park them on the road part of the year. And was that even a consideration when this came out, that would be maybe a sticking point for some of the residents who have lots of vehicles and toys and stuff parked on their property, and they sort of would, before this year, leave them parked on the street and not really think about it if they didn't need to?
And that's an absolutely fair question. That came up more around our parking bylaw discussions. We've had a lot of complaints and issues over the years on certain streets. You don't have to drive very far, and you'll see a few of them of that street parking. Part of the issue is okay. So some of the older homes may not have the parking that's required, right? So back then, a house that was 3 bedrooms that was given a double car garage. Now all of a sudden they finish the basement. The teenager has a kid or a car.
Yeah.
The spouse, like you said, has a summer car. It becomes an issue. That is when you need to look at, would you want to park your summer car that you just spent $70,000 or $80,000 on the street, especially if it's a busy street? So is there access for you to park in the back? Is there access for you? Is there the ability for you to extend your driveway? A lot of these discussions start to happen. I know that one of the comments was not far from where I live, and that there was some houses there that had single car driveways plus the garage. Well, in the design, in the plan of the subdivision and servicing and building guide, the garage counts as a stall. The city's now looked at removing that because people aren't using their garages for parking. Like a lot of people, it is turned into something, or it is where the freezer goes or the pets go.
Storage or a man cave or whatever.
So, one garage and one stall behind no longer works for a 3-bedroom. It needs to now have, a double car driveway. So I think as the building moves forward, I think that's going to be a positive change to that. In the meantime, it's one day.
Yeah.
It's literally one day. So I'm in hopes that people want to see our snow removal continue to get better, and help out by doing that and all having a part in it.
Absolutely. All right. And I should say quick, as the season goes on, or even people who want to offer their comments now, because as you said, this is a process, where's the best way they can reach out and say something or say what they think?
Honestly, get a hold of your council, right? Yeah. You can email council@fortstjohn.ca. That is the easiest way. That will go to mayor and council. We can all then have a look at it. And that's not just for this or anything. That's for everything, right? Like, I've said it before. You and I have talked about it before. Municipal government is the most democratic government that I think is left, not only in Canada, but probably in this world, where, you see your councillors uptown, you see your councillors out for dinner, you're able to have that conversation. You can't do that with other levels of government. So that process always starts by having your say, because again, that is what changed this policy in the first place, was people saying, this isn't working anymore. We need to change it.
Absolutely. All right, let's switch gears to talk a bit about a little bit of a pool update. Obviously, we could do another whole show on this whole situation, but now that Fort St. John is sort of in the lead on this, I came out earlier this week that, and I'm going to mess this up a bit, but essentially almost like an agreement to sort of look into the situation a bit more was signed for a piece of land kind of behind or near Nache Commons, where that's going in, as a possible site for a future pool/recreation facility. What does that mean exactly for this process, this ongoing process of figuring out a pool and future recreation center for the city?
So honestly, Dub, I think seeing this happen so quickly was huge. People have been hearing about, talking about, asking about, posting about a new recreational facility or new leisure pool for probably the last decade.
Yeah.
As long as I can remember. Very much so the last 5 years, as we continue to see the existing one fall apart a little bit and get more expensive every year to repair.
Yeah.
So the city did enter into an agreement, a letter of intent, if you will, with Parkwood, across from Nache Commons, right by Montmarie School, on their new development for a 10-acre site, in order to start the process of a new leisure facility, rec center, whatever we're going to call it, however that looks. So, over the course of 2 to 3 years, the city and the RD, Taylor was on that pool commission as well.
Yep.
Did an extensive amount of public feedback. We did it at your guys' events. We did it at the pool. We did it online. In order to come up with what Fort St. John wants. At that point in time, it was what the area wants. Now this is about Fort St. John. So from there, we're going to take all of that information of what the city residents decided, and that goes right down to how much they felt they could afford, right? Where I think this kind of went a little bit sideways in the earlier committee was, people saying this is what we want. And then the committee at that time saying this is what it's going to cost. We've now kind of reversed that a little bit with the new committee, and we've said, okay, this is what people said they want or how much they can afford. This is what we can get for that. So, I'm super excited. Myself and Councillor McDougall are both on the new committee appointed by council with an amazing group of staff members. And from here now, we've got the land kind of specified. We know the size, we know the shape. We can now look at design. We can look at what will fit, parking, the whole 9 yards. The concerns people had for the last 3 to 5 years can now be answered. And I think in the, probably in the start of 2026, which is not far away. What are we? We're 2 months till Christmas. I think in that kind of that Q1 of 2026 is when we can start to, have some designs rolled out, some harder costs rolled out. I think one of the biggest things too is that, over the 5 years of the discussion of the previous committee on that pool, costs were out of control. We were seeing rising costs per month on lumber and all these different things where that's sort of flatlined now. So we can get a better picture of what that looks like. We can get a truer cost. And of course, then there's the operational component, right? What is it going to cost if there is a 25 meter, 10 lane, water slides, hot tubs, which I know people will love to hear about, and then, throw in kind of the play pool, and now a soccer pitch, right, attached to it, right? What does that look like? What do the costs look like? Is there things in the original plan that maybe are not popular with Fort St. John anymore? So, and again, I mean, if depending on how this comes out, that information is going to be shared. It is going to be in an open and transparent format. I'm sure we'll be on your show. I'm sure we'll have town halls. I'm sure we'll have coffee with council.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what we want is that, we want to design and build something that will grow with us. This will be our third pool. And I think one of the most maybe classic examples of that is the RCMP building, right? People are like, why would you build such a great big building? Because we don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Right. We want to build this building. And in 50 years from now, when that building's long and paid off, we want to be able to say, we don't need to build another building, right? So let's do that this time. There was complications around the last pool, failed referendums, changes that were made, on the go just to make it happen. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to come out and say, here's the plan, find out what the people think, find out how it's going to fit, find out how it's going to work, how it's going to grow our community, how it's going to bring professionals and employees and families into Fort St. John, and then have a solid plan moving forward for hopefully next fall.
Gotcha. Okay. We got about a minute left here, Councillor Bolin.
It's because you talk too much.
The way you talk, and you tell me if I'm wrong. It sort of sounds like this is likely going to be the spot where a future pool is going to be.
Yes.
Is that an accurate statement to make?
That is an accurate statement. So unless something crazy were to come up, or the project doesn't go ahead at all, if this project goes ahead, that is the preferred location. And again, people asked, why not put it where the old Canadian Tire was? Take a look at the size, right? Like that lot, like we need 10 acres for this facility in order to have the parking lot and have everything there. The old Canadian Tire, nowhere near that size. There's not another.
And I suppose the current pool is the same problem.
It's
just the area is too small for you to
those
knock
pieces,
it over and
those
rebuild
pieces
it.
are a third of this size.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the other popular questions is, well, what are you going to do with the old building? It's not our building. The regional district does own the building and land. However, I can tell you that in discussions, with council, it is a great building. It is not a great pool, but it's a great building. So is there another use that maybe we can work with the RD on to give that much more benefit to the residents of Fort St. John? It's a win-win all the way around, Dub.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll have to leave it there for now. Trevor, thank you so much for stopping by and chat with us today.
Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
You're very welcome. You too. That's Councillor Trevor Bolin. We'll be right back with Steve Berard's chat with Alyn Stobbe right after this on This Week in the Peace.
Come play with us at Chance's Fort St. John. Are you looking for something to do? Karaoke Saturdays, Trivia Wednesdays, and don't forget table games, slots, and bingo. And the Proline Sportsbook is now open. Learn more at chancesfsj.com. Use your game sense, know your limit, play within it.
Beat the winter rush with Kubota snow equipment. Professional performance when you need it most. Right now, get financing as low as 0% on select snow equipment and attachments. See your Kubota dealer for details.
CDN is your trusted industry leader in Fort St. John for solutions in industrial electrical, instrumentation, automation, renewables, and more. Learn more about CDN at cdncontrols.ca.
On October 29th, join Smith Fuel Services Ltd. and 100.1 Moose FM at the Lido for a night of Halloween movies. First, at 4 p.m., we'll be showing 2002's Scooby-Doo.
Scoob and me don't do castles.
Why not?
Because castles have paintings with eyes that watch you and suits armor you think's a statue, but there's a guy inside who follows you every time you turn around.
Join the gang as they solve the mysteries of Spooky Island. Then, at 6:30, a Halloween favorite, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
To book your seat, go to thelido.ca and select the movie you'd like to attend. Tickets are $2 each. Halloween movies at the Lido brought to you by Smith Fuel Services Ltd. and Moose FM and are supported by Fort St. John Home Hardware, Fort St. John Co-op, and Trican Well Servicing.
Taxes and extra fees do apply on tickets.
At Denny's and Bar One, they have something special every day. Taco Tuesdays kick off at 2 p.m. with chicken or shrimp tacos for just $4. On Thursdays, it's wing night. From 2 p.m., wings are just $6.50 and seniors get 15% off. Plus, enjoy happy hour every day from 3 to 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. to close. Denny's and Bar One, Fort St. John. Delicious deals you don't want to miss. Visit them today, located beside the Best Western Plus Chateau.
Get trained, get certified, get home safe. AAA Safety and Field Services offers industry-leading safety training that meets WorkSafe BC standards. From first aid to confined space, H2S to fit testing, AAA Safety and Field Services trains the people who keep your job sites safe. Right now, you can use promo code AAA to get 10% off your first booked course.
Check out the full selection of courses online at AAAsafety.ca. That's AAAsafety.ca.
If you're looking for a peaceful place to escape, stop into Peaceful Pages. They're pleased to offer a quiet space for you to sit and read, catch up on some work, gather with a couple of friends, or even have Bible studies. Peaceful Pages Christian Bookstore on 101 Avenue in Fort St. John.
Moose Country weather.
Today, we're going to see a mix of sun and cloud that clears up near noon, a high of 10 degrees. Wind southwest 50, gusting to 70 kilometers an hour today. Clear sky tonight, a low of +4. Tomorrow, increasing cloudiness with a 60% chance of showers in the afternoon, a high of 9. And cloudy on Sunday, 60% chance of showers, high of 6. Moose FM traffic update for you on Alaska Highway 97 at the Taylor Bridge. It is still down to single lane alternating traffic after a vehicle incident earlier. Sounds like there may have been damage to the bridge, but they are cleaning it up right now. You can expect delays through there. Again, the Alaska Highway 97 at Taylor Bridge down to single lane alternating traffic. Expect delays. You see something else going on in traffic? You could text us at 787-2222.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at Energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Dub Craig. Well, as I said, Steve Berard feeling under the weather today, but he was earlier able to sit down with Fort St. John Fire Department Lieutenant Alyn Stobbe to chat a bit about Fire Prevention Week and, of course, why it's important. Here's that conversation.
And thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate that you're able to come by. Really quickly, before we get into Fire Prevention Week, I wanted to talk about earlier this week, you got a long service award from the city of Fort St. John. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of your history with the fire department here in town?
Yeah, absolutely. I did a long service award along with some other members who also got theirs. I think the other guys were like 25 years.
Okay.
So mine was 15 years. And it's a great place to work. And I don't regret 1 second switching to the fire service. It's been really, really good.
What did you do before fire service?
I did optical.
Okay.
Glasses and contact lenses.
Okay, awesome. How does it feel just sort of as a firefighter to get acknowledged like that publicly by the city?
Oh, it's great. It's appreciated for sure.
Awesome. So let's move on. Let's talk about Fire Prevention Week. That was last week as we were recording this.
Yep.
For people who maybe aren't familiar with it at all, they haven't heard of it, tell me a bit about what Fire Prevention Week is.
So Fire Prevention Week, it's international.
Right.
Right? It started, it goes way back. So every year at this time, second or first couple of weeks in October, we go to the schools. We do a kind of a cyclical theme. Every 5 or 6 years it kind of repeats. But we target the grade 3s because their just age is just prime for soaking it in the good stuff, so to speak. And so, we go to grade 3s every year at this time of year specifically, and we teach them on the theme that's picked. So we don't pick the theme, so there's some sort of association group down in the States, I believe, that picks it out. And so, you can go from the east coast of Canada right to the west coast of Canada. We're all teaching the same thing.
I remember when I was in 3rd grade back in Ontario, I remember Fire Prevention Week, how fun it was.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about this year's theme and sort of what you guys were going over this year.
Oh, yeah. So it's in brackets, charge into fire safety.
Okay.
So it's talking about rechargeable devices. Like almost everybody's got a phone, right? Or you might see an e-scooter going down the street, right? Well, it's got all these rechargeable batteries in it. So if these batteries aren't charged properly, or if you don't have one that's maybe got the ULC standards kind of investigative branding, that might not be, a safe device. So we were talking a little bit about that, how to charge your devices. And the kids are so smart. They know more than me. I'm getting old now, so they could probably teach me a thing or two, but it was so fun just to engage the kids on some of this fire safety points.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. For adults, even like yourself or me, who maybe don't know all the rules of, what to do safely with devices like this. Tell me a bit about some of the things you were teaching the kids.
Sure. So if you're charging your phone, for example, you're going to do it on a hard surface.
Okay.
You don't want to tuck it under your pillow or something soft that might be insulating it. Right. So you want the heat to dissipate, and these cold, hard surfaces, like your countertop, would be ideal.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that your phone or your batteries haven't been dropped or damaged, because that might cause maybe a thermal runaway, they call it.
Okay.
So you want to do that. Make sure it's a ULC product.
Okay.
So
do you know what ULC stands for?
For sure. So that's the Underwriter Laboratories of Canada.
Okay.
So they've gone through a special process. They've tested it. They've investigated the product to make sure it's good.
Right.
So you can order all sorts of devices online these days. In stores here in Canada, typically they've been vetted.
Right.
But on the online, they might not have been vetted.
Yeah.
So you got to really be choosy about your products and check it out for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I'm going to relay really quickly a personal experience I had one time with the lithium battery. I had an old cell phone that was sitting on my desk. It had been I got it used. It had been dropped. I was hanging onto it to sell it for parts or something.
Yes.
And the battery inflated.
Yes.
So much that it was pushing the back glass off. What do you do in a situation like that for people who maybe haven't run into something like that before?
Wow, that's a good question. If it was my phone like that, I would drop it in some metal container full of water.
Right.
Because the next step could be a thermal runaway, where inside the battery, it just can't stop. The little ions just start going crazy, and then you can't stop it. right?
Yeah, for sure.
And those fires get super hot, right?
Yeah, it can lead to a big fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. So for people who maybe are dealing with older batteries and stuff like that, maybe they're not inflating like that yet, but there's a concern. They want to get rid of them before something bad happens. How can people go about doing that safely?
So you want to take them to the recycle depot.
Okay.
And then they can take care of those for you.
Okay, awesome, for sure.
Yeah.
For people who are curious, want to learn more about stuff like this, like you said, a lot of people, this is kind of newer things. Kids are almost more up on it than people like you and me who want to learn more about this kind of thing. Is there someone at the fire department they can speak with? Or
Yeah, they can speak to myself or anybody in the fire protection, prevention branch of the fire hall. Absolutely. Have a look online.
Okay.
If you do up the old grand Google search for NFPA. So that's the National Fire Protection Association.
Okay.
They've got a ton of good information, and I would check those guys out. NFPA.
Okay, for sure. Awesome. For people who listen to this interview, maybe they want to learn more, not necessarily about fire prevention, but about the fire department itself here in town.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to donate or something to help out. I know you guys have a charitable foundation.
Absolutely.
Tell me a bit about how people can go about doing that.
So the charitable has a webpage. I can't spout it off the top of my head, but check out the Fort St. John Firefighters Charitable Society. Yeah. Hard time speaking that one out. But yeah, check out the Society for Charitable. They've got their own webpage, and that'll give you all the information about what the money that collects here in our town, which our town does a fantastic job. The society is really just a showcase for our community.
Yeah, for sure.
Really, really good. So anyhow, yeah, check out the webpage there. It'll answer probably most of your questions. And if you have further questions on the society, just write them an email. Somebody will get back to you.
Okay, awesome.
For the fire department, check out our city webpage. That's probably the best place.
Okay, cool. When we have people from the fire department on, every now and again we'll get a message from a listener who says, hey, I'm interested in maybe becoming a firefighter.
Yeah.
What does the avenue look like for someone who's interested in that right now?
Probably the best person to talk to that would be the training officer.
Okay.
He actually would kind of walk you through that path.
Yeah, for sure.
But for a Reader's Digest, for your listeners, you basically would want to have your trade ticket.
Right.
Which is like, we call it a 1001 or 1002 ticket. But yeah, you would get your trade certifications, and then you would begin applying to the different cities, because it is a municipal standalone. It's not a provincial thing.
Right.
The wildfire service is a provincial, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So if you're saw a posting in, say, Prince George, Saskatoon, that would be the place to apply. And then they've got different qualifications and what they're looking for in the different cities.
Okay.
So then you would want to go one step further than your trade ticket and do some of those training items for those.
Yeah.
But that's, in a quick nutshell, that's what
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the walkthrough.
Yeah.
I've got everything on my list here we've gone over that I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else you want to bring up while you're still here?
Can I?
Absolutely.
We want to do kind of a bit of a shameless plug to all those kids that might be listening out there. So all the kids out there, we've been through your schools, and we've really been encouraging people and children to fill out your forms that you were given in school.
Okay.
Because if you do it, it gets you and your school a chance to win a pizza party for the whole school.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is so fun. Last year was our first year. Bird Ambrose won it. Pizza Hut was our partner.
Okay.
And I think we did like 80 large pizzas.
Oh, that's
we
awesome.
Brought to the school. It was so fun. So we want the kids to be able to enter that in and have that chance for their school to be the winning school.
Okay, for sure. So they were given a form at school. They just fill it out and give it to their teacher?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. We'll make sure. Thank you so much for your time today, Alyn. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
All right, that was Steve Berard in conversation with Lieutenant Alyn Stobbe of the Fort St. John Fire Department. Our thanks to Trevor Bolin for joining us on This Week in the Piece earlier on, and thank you for tuning in. You can listen to the show again by checking out the podcast at Energeticcity.ca/podcast. We also have other excellent locally produced podcasts there, including Before the Piece. Make sure you check it out if you got some time over the weekend. That's our show. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Piece, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace Region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at Energeticcity.ca.